the budget presentation. Dr. Evans, I'll turn it over to you for you to do your thing.
Thank you, Ms. Oristano-James, and good evening, everyone. Before I turn this over to Ms. Fela to present kind of the final pieces of our anticipated expenditure side of the budget, we have some late-breaking news that the state legislature and the governor have reached a state budget deal. This afternoon, we found out that we were receiving some pieces of information, such as the governor's original proposals that would have consolidated expense-driven aids into one aids category. That was not included in the new budget package. The legislation would provide a $1.4 billion increase in foundation aid funding for school districts in the upcoming year. It also has language that is calling for the planning of a fully phased-in foundation aid formula by the 2023-24 school year. So what that means is the state will finally fulfill its financial obligations under the state constitution for fully funding public education. And lastly, just within the last 10 minutes, I received word that the new state aid runs have been published. So once Lisa leaves this meeting and gets some rest, hopefully, tomorrow she can start digging into what our state aid will look like for next year. And we'll have that ready for you at the next board meeting, unless Ms. Fela, you have other information that you've been keeping from me. But I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Fela at this point. Ms. Fela.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Janet, can you share the presentation, please?
Sandy, can you make me host again? Sorry.
There you go. You should be able to share.
Okay, so this budget presentation is general support / undistributed employee benefits and district-wide expenditures. And it says finalize the budget process because I was hopeful that we would have had a state budget before this afternoon or tonight, and we could actually have a final budget discussion, but that'll have to wait till April 20th, unfortunately. Next slide, please. Thank you. So by law, the board makes final decision. I say this every meeting on the budget. To be presented to the public for voter approval. We solicit input, and our goal is to be as transparent as possible. We put everything out here by budget code, so if there are any questions, we encourage people to send their questions to comments@k12mcsd.net, and we will respond, but please comment in context of the budget presentation. Next slide. So I know this is a little difficult to see, but this is what's called undistributed or district-wide expenses. This section of the budget is the Board of Education, the district clerk, our annual meeting, the superintendent's office, and the business office on this page. The only one area that has a significant increase in these categories is for our annual district meeting, and it's for the Dominion voting machines. There's maintenance, there's parts, there's all sorts of additional costs for the electronic voting machines that we have to absorb. So that's what that increase represents. Next slide. Continuing with the undistributed, again, auditing our tax collection, fiscal agent fees is our bond counsel, and then there's our legal counsel. We do have an increase in legal counsel for the upcoming school year, but we are entering negotiations right now with the MTA, and we have a couple other contracts that expire June 30th, 2021. So we anticipate some additional costs there. Personnel and public information services have stayed the same. Our unallocated insurance, this is our property liability policy and our student accident policy that we get directly from our carriers, and that is projected to increase slightly. We have our association dues, judgments and claims, and assessments on school property and refund of real property taxes. That's based on historical costs and information, and it's been relatively consistent over the years. Next slide. So now we have employee benefits, and the employee benefits number overall is a decrease, which is kind of nice to see. The employees' retirement system and the teachers' retirement system, those percentages have remained constant from the previous year. So there's no real large percentage increase there. So it's only based on salary increases for those people. And as more we hire younger employees and teachers in those systems, they're entering into a different tier in the retirement system where they contribute more for a longer period of time. So we're finally seeing the benefits of that tier 6 that was initiated probably 7, 8, 10 years ago. The other, like our health insurance, that actually went down, which was surprising. We checked that number 4 times over to make sure that we were accurate, and we're confident in that number. So I was very pleased that employee benefits is one of those areas that tends to increase, and it's beyond your control. But this upcoming year, it's actually a decrease. And then finally, we have debt service. Next slide. Thank you. This is obviously our debt for different capital projects over the years. We have a construction ban right now. Ban is a bond anticipation note. That is for our current construction project at the high school and the bus garage. Our fiscal advisors suggested you do a bond anticipation note until you're ready to do a serial bond. We anticipate doing a serial bond next school year in June. So that won't be there next year. It'll actually have serial bond principal and interest above will increase. But the rest of those numbers stay relatively the same. The transfer to capital, we can spend $100,000 on different small projects within the school and get state aid back on it the following year. So every year we put $100,000 in there to fix, doors, or we did a small asbestos abatement project this year. So we continue to make those small improvements and get our aid back in the following year. Next slide. I think that's it. So now we have our calendar for reminders. On April 19th, petitions for board seats are due to the district clerk by 5 p.m. April 20th, the board will adopt the 2021-2022 proposed budget. On April 29th, the budget is made available to the public. May 6th, we'll have our budget hearing. By May 11th is voter registration day. We mail our notices on the 12th, and our annual budget vote is May 18th, 2021. And our upcoming board meeting will be April 20th, where we'll have our state aid and our revenue and bringing it all together for a budget adoption. Any questions?
Any questions on this section of the budget? Ms. Jersey?
Was the decrease in health insurance related to the premium or the number of employees taking it?
It was more employees switched. We're hiring younger people and they're all taking individual plans. So that's where we saw the biggest shift, was from family plans of people that have retired to individual plans. Yeah, we were all, we went through that number 3 times over. I said, can't be right, but it was.
Any other questions? So, Ms. Fell, we thank you for all of your work on the budget. It's definitely been one of those scenarios where, you know, you're still building that plane in the air, and that's going to continue. The board is certainly aware of the fact that we keep hearing about these funds that we're going to be receiving through these federal relief dollars. The reality is we don't know that those numbers are actually coming our direction. They stop at the state first. And we don't know what they're going to do and then delineate out. So the good news is that that at least we have a better game plan of us before we say yes to a budget to put before the community, in the fact that the state has finalized a budget and you'll have a budget run in. We thank you for your fiscal leadership, your fiscal understanding in teaching us all what those numbers really look like. We have told you privately, but it's important for the public to know this board understands the work that you do and what it is that you have done for our school district to get us in good financial health, because that good financial health enables us to be able to give quality education to our schools, to our students, but more importantly, to make sure that there is a fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers. And you have consistently stayed well under that 2% cap. You have consistently explained the budget to us and the understanding of it, and you have towed the line and really taken that pencil, as Helen said when she first got on the board, let's get those pencils out and sharpen them a little bit better. And that has been happening, and we are so pleased with the work that you were doing and just want to publicly thank you. And I think that everybody, you can see by the looks on many of their faces around the table that we just wanted to say that publicly to you. And you have had to do that through a changeover in superintendents numerous times. And every single one of them has said in no uncertain terms the value that we have in you as our business person. So we thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions from the board other than where we were at that juncture? So Dr. Evans, can you tell us our next steps here with regard to budget?
Sure. So the news out of Albany does look very promising relative to our state aid funding. Again, Ms. Fela will crack into those numbers tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. And then we'll start looking at them hopefully later this week, and we'll be bringing them to the board at the April 20th meeting. We recognize that that's a relatively short amount of time to adopt a budget, but we do intend to do that at that meeting. You've seen all of the expenditures over the past several meetings, and I'd remind the board as well as the community that if you go to our website and you click under the business office tab and then the budget tab, Courtney Bonfante has taken all of our administrators and Ms. Fela's presentations and clipped them off of this recording, so you can see them in these short 5 to 10 minute presentations if anyone's looking for more information on what we plan on spending our money on next year. And again, Ms. Oristano-James, an excellent point on the federal stimulus money. We don't know how that money is to be spent, nor do we know how much are we receiving. We have just received word that the state education department is going to put out an application process for school districts that is due by July 1st. So that will be coming in the very near future. However, that's kind of independent of this budget. And we have until September of 23, Ms. Fela, to spend that federal money. So there's a couple of years at play there relative to that federal stimulus money. But thank you, and thank you, Ms. Fela.